legs spun behind him. This broken man in front of Octavius. Octavius looks at him and says, "I'm sorry, I failed. I could not continue to burden, or to continue to keep the burden going." And the old wrinkled up man looks at Octavius and says, "That's okay. There is more suffering to be done." And it just fades to black. And even in the afterlife, Octavius is stationed to an eternity of suffering.
Absolutely. Even in death, he still bears the burden of ill matter, enduring it all when few could. Warrendel, same thing to you. A petrification at this level is irreversible, but it's up to you, the last scene that we see of Warrendel. What becomes of this sorcerer?
Well, what I imagine is after Reich and Livy get their things, having a massive giant statue of Warrendel wasn't really something that could be moved. So the statue's gonna sit there in this temple for decades, centuries maybe. And no, there might be no way to return this. But in the year 2929, I just imagine this futuristic world where spelunkers and loot gatherers, treasure hunters will come down here. Their fancy stone to flesh trinkets or whatever. You see this man, his hand outstretched, this look of horror on his face. Some way, somehow, they transfer him back. You'll have that blink of his eye as his spell goes off, disintegrating all of them in front of him.
Excellent. Yeah. I like it. Futuristic world that has not been seen in the likes of this realm. Perhaps a teaser of something to come. Right, Liviant, what becomes of the protector of the storm?
Protector of the storm. It's like a lifetime ago. I don't know if any of that gets to happen. Because I think Reich might throw the Warrendel's petrified body into the pit.
Livy would have some serious words.
Well,
don't you dare!
You earn it. You think about it.
We're about to talk.
you think about it, but there's just a look on Warrendel's face of finally maybe you rationalize that it's a look of defeat, and you like the way that he looks up there. So against your better judgment, Livy tells you to leave the statue of him alone. Any other final thoughts? Did we finally get to meet our wife in the afterlife? Does he continue on, the last of his kind?
Yeah, I think he continues on actually on the in the Forgotten Realms, and he looks for that scepter. You
find it basically in the room next door. You guys basically purge this cage, and you find Imrith's true hoard. It's more gold than anyone could ever need in this realm. No. Magic items and the scepter. You bring the scepter back to the giants, restoring Sarissa. With Sarissa, we can say you go on to bring order and basically rulership over the storm giants once again.
Hey, wait. Could Sarissa unpetrify?
Sarissa immediately is unpetrified when the scepter is brought back.
Right, but could
she doesn't have any ability to unpetrify now.
And neither does the chair?
No, the chair doesn't either.
Okay.
Your quest could be to restore order with the giants, and then maybe find somebody that can finally unpetrify your friend.
Yeah,
so you can have or not your friend, but your enemy.
Yeah, my enemy. I think that is what happens. He goes back to the storm giants with the tail and with the other person that they fought with. I don't know, who is that person that was left,
Namir.
and what are they?
Namir is just a guard, a knight of the Converging Storm with
Just the Knight of the Converging Storm.
Yeah. And
so with their story, I go stay there after Sarissa is rehydrated per se.
Yep.
I think that he would serve her until his death.
You do, and there's a lot of work to be done. The Giants, although brought back to heal, still had many nefarious plots in play, and there's a scenes of Reich Liviant going and taking on many giant lords of different caste systems under the banner of Sarissa, the queen of the Storm Giants. And you do eventually make way in bringing back the ordering to the Giants. Perhaps one day before you pass away, it'll truly be restored. But finally, as Sarissa has been reunited, the camera fades on the last scene of this as Livy. What are you doing as we see her last moments of this campaign?
Things that Livy would do after finally leaving with Reich Liviant and Namir, saying goodbye to Warrendale, even though his petrified form probably couldn't hear her, and taking, if she's able to, taking the ring from Tavios. And once she said her goodbyes to Queen Sarissa and Reich Liviant, she would start making her way home, whether through the teleportation that the Giants have or by land. And one of the things that she'd want to do is if she ever managed to run into Tavios's dragon friend, I can't remember his name at the moment.
Saul.
If she managed to run into him again, she would pass off Tavios' ring, bearing the bad news, but leaving good word of how heroic he was and helping fix the problem that was at hand and taking down the Imerith. And the final scene for her would, after all that travel home, she would return to the woods where her adventure began with the people, with Sunlit and Tavios and Warrendale, and she would be sitting among these two trees that are intertwined, that are of her grandpa and grandmother, in which they had become these trees to help cast a spell of protection. She would be relaying the adventures that she had and telling about the destruction of Imerith to the best of the details, and clearly exaggerating on them to make it sound as wonderful, even though it's just words echoing through the trees and through the woods. And
Absolutely.
that's how I see the scene ending for her.
Embellishing the story like any good Caspian would. The camera fades as Livy sits next to the tree of her of her grandfather and grandmother, telling the tales of everything that's happened. Where this journey basically began for Livy is also where it ends, as the campaign of Storm King's Thunder fades to black. And you guys have finished the campaign.
Wow.
Congratulations, guy. That was intense to say the least. We're literally talking about less than a handful of HP from total wipe.
Well, yeah.
I'm sad that it didn't properly record, but what are you gonna do?
I got the backup.
Perfect. That's great. Basically, yeah, that's it, guys. Crazy. It's been a hell of a ride. 3 years of our lives, and this is it. Hopefully everyone's satisfied with the ending. I know not everyone made it, but as every good story.
I can't believe Reich's one of the last ones, man. I figured he died. There's no way I would have thought that.
Yeah, I promise you too. That guy, that was like I didn't really fudge any roll, so that was all earned. That was an incredibly difficult encounter that you guys survived.
No,
like
yeah.
we're talking like
So
CR.
one person survived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one
Libby's
person.
retiring. After
Yeah.
all of that, she's like, I think I have enough stories for a lifetime.
I kind of think that after a few years, if his rate, I'm gonna roll some here. Roll high and low.
I definitely
Great.
feel like it's basically up to them. You guys easily could have been brought back at the level that you guys are at, but if you see fit that your character doesn't get brought back, then that's fine by me.
I totally want to kill Warrendale.
Yeah,
That's all it comes down to.
you spend many times thinking about how to destroy that statue. Maybe
Yeah. And I think actually overall, I think I do throw it in the abyss after some time because Livy's not with me.
yeah,
Hey, she would be none the wiser.
yeah. Anyways,
But
well, guys,
there in her presence, she had been really upset. Livy totally she retires from she retires from